Shout out to Lauren Gardner for voicing that piece. We appreciate that. Lauren, highlighting what Luis Robert has done. And, you know, really, I go back to that playoff series that he had against the Houston Astros. The Astros could not get him out. The White Sox, of course, lost that series. But, man, I thought that was kind of like a coming out party nationally for Luis Robert.
I agree. He was using the whole field, too, much more than just a slugger. You know, before he played his first game, his teammate Eloy Jimenez said, "People are going to call me crazy, but he's going to be the next Mike Trout." I mean, that's high praise. But we're 174 games in, and that prediction, it's pretty accurate. When you look at the starts of the careers of Luis Robert and Mike Trout, look at these numbers here. Through their first 174 games, pretty darn close. And it's rare to find guys like Trout and like Robert who can combine this kind of power and speed. First of all, both of them fill up the batter's box. You know, Trout,
big dude.
Yeah, Trout's 6'2", 235. Robert is 6'2", 220. So these guys play center field at that kind of size and the way they move, and the stolen base is definitely a part of their game. So you're definitely talking about five-tool players at elite levels. It's not like they just take a bag once in a while, hit a home run once in a while. They're doing it at elite levels. This is rare company to start a career the way that Luis Robert has. And so I believe the comp to Mike Trout, it's not crazy. He's not Mike Trout, I'm not saying that. But he's in the conversation of this rare combo of power and speed. First 174, 30 home runs and 25 stolen bases.
Whoa.
That's it, folks. These are the only guys. So he's, once again, in the company with Mike Trout. Now, I got to give Luis Robert a lot of credit because when he first came up to the big leagues, it wasn't like he was setting the world on fire. In fact, he was not hitting fastballs. Look at the whiff rate and the batting average on fastballs his rookie year, and look what he's done since. I love to see the adjustment. And adjustment is the key word because he's made some mechanical adjustments. Shows me how smart of a hitter he is. Going back to 220, he's just kind of erect. He's really kind of closes himself off with that stance. His hands get behind him with the load. What he did came back the next year. You see the way he opened up his stance there? He can get his bat on plane a lot quicker this way. He's not pulling his hands all the way behind him. Having the hips open and earlier, it allows him to get to fastballs. Once again, you see the bat is kind of straight up and down. Now it's more on angle. The opening up of the stance allows him really to get his hip through, getting through fastballs. And you talk about getting through fastballs. This is Justin Verlander on Saturday, one of the best heaters in the business, of course. And Luis Robert gets him 3 different times on fastballs. I can't remember the last guy who did that. Again, he'll go line to line depending on where the pitch is. But the way he opened up that stance, to me, that's another perfect example of how Luis Robert can cover fastballs both in and out. Book on him as a rookie, you can get him out hard in. Book on him now, I don't know how you get him out because he has covered that hole by making a mechanical adjustment. And by the way, what's his nickname again? I love the way
La Pantera, the Panther.
It's a great nickname. I love the way you say that.
Yeah, 70% of the time, it works every time.
So you bring up the name Mike Trout and people go, you're overreaching. I think with Robert, it's not crazy to at least make the comp of power-speed combo.
You know, in our preview section in the New York Post, we got to pick awards every year, and I don't want to pick Mike Trout for AL MVP or, you know, the obvious guy. That's who I picked. I picked Robert this year because of what he did in a bridge. You know, the numbers last year for a guy who played like 60 games were tremendous, and then he wasn't bothered by the pressure in the postseason. And I thought, what if he plays 145, 150 games? What would that mean? He might not do that. There was some injuries again this year, plus Judge and Ramirez. But I think he's at the upper echelon of talent, and not just talent, performing talent in the sport.